Hello everyone, welcome to Barca News. It is June 13th, 2025, and Hansi Flick has called up yet on another young, talented player from the academy. Also, Barcelona are closing in on the signing of a Portuguese gem. And finally, Rashford continues to reject offers coming his way. We have a lot to discuss, so let's begin. Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Mo, and I know I didn't do any videos yesterday. I do apologize about that. I finished work at midnight, and I thought about doing videos, but I was so tired, so exhausted, I went to sleep. So now I'm bringing you these videos at an odd hour. It's actually my lunch hour right now at work, so I decided to make these two quick videos to cover the news that happened yesterday. And of course, today is Friday, so today is the podcast later on in the evening, so make sure to stay tuned to the channel so I can see you guys during the podcast. Anyways, let's begin with the news because, ladies and gentlemen, we will start this video with bad news. And that bad news concerns Gerard Martin, because Gerard Martin had been called up to the Spanish under-21 squad in order to participate in the under-21 European Championship. And the bad news is that he suffered a fracture during his first match. He fractured his right hand, and as a result, he has abandoned the Spanish concentration. He has returned to the city of Barcelona, where he is expected to undergo surgery in order to repair that fracture in his right hand. So definitely bad news in regards to Gerard Martin, who was, excited about his call-up to the Spanish under-21 national team. But of course, the silver lining is, or I guess there are two silver linings. Number one is that the fracture is to his hand, so that shouldn't impede his playing. And two, it's summer. So hopefully by the time the season begins, his hand will be healed. Now, there is more news in regards to Gerard Martin, because as they reported in a previous video, there's currently interest in the player from the Premier League, more specifically Wolverhampton and also Bournemouth. And Barcelona were considering maybe offloading him if they received an offer north of 12 million euros, which is the offer that came from Bournemouth. Bournemouth offered 12 million euros. But the news now is that Gerard Martin is staying put. And the reason for that is that the player himself, upon his return to Barcelona, stated that he's not thinking about leaving, that he's thinking of staying at Barcelona. And the second reason is that Hansi Flick has requested from the club not to offload Gerard Martin, not to consider any offers, because he fully counts on Gerard Martin as the substitute for Alejandro Balde. So there you have it, folks. Gerard Martin will not be leaving, or at least as of now, will not be leaving the club as of June 13th. 2025. All right, on to the next bit of news, because Hansi Flick has called up a young, talented player from La Masia, and that player is Ibrahim Diarra, the 18-year-old right winger who Barcelona signed from Africa Foot Academy back in December. Someone that came to Barcelona, did the trials, and Barcelona were so impressed with him that they signed him immediately as soon as he turned 18 years old, because when he did his trials, he was 17. At Barcelona, as you know by the rules, you cannot sign someone from outside of Europe that's under 18 years old. So as soon as Ibrahim Diarra turned 18 years old, he was about to blow his candles, and Barcelona were knocking on the door like, dude, we want to sign you. So Barcelona signed Ibrahim Diarra in December of last year. Of course, he came to Barcelona, and he had a slow start, as expected, because, of course, not only was he joining a new club, but he was also joining completely new league in a different country. And on top of that, he had spent several months on injury, and he arrived overweight because he was out of form. So he had a huge obstacle to overcome. He had to lose weight, get back in form, get back into competitive form, get adjusted to Barcelona, get adjusted to Spanish football. And as such, Barcelona decided to place him in Juvenil A, or the under-19 youth team, instead of Barca Athletic, which at the time, there was a decision that a lot of people were like, whoa, what is Barcelona doing? Why are they playing him in under-19 youth team instead of Barca Athletic? And what I said was like, look, if there's one thing that Barcelona knows how to do, is develop their youngsters. So if Barcelona believe that Ibrahim Diarra is going to develop better in Juvenil A than the Barca Athletic, then they know what they're doing. And well, lo and behold, that decision paid off, because Ibrahim Diarra ended up finding his form towards the end of the season. He became a goal-scoring machine. He was part of that Giuliano Belletti squad that won the treble, that won the Youth Copa del Rey, Youth Champions League, and of course, their league group, and that has all paid off because now Hansi Flick has called up on Ibrahim Diarra to the first team, where Diarra is going to participate in the preseason, and he will have a chance to prove himself to Hansi Flick and earn a spot on the first team. Now, speaking of young, talented players, Barcelona are very close to finalizing the signing of Cardoso Barella, someone that I've talked a lot about in the past. In fact, Barcelona were very close to signing him. I think it was back in the summer, but it didn't happen. Then a few days ago, or I think it was last week, I told you that Barcelona, there was reporters in Croatia that they were saying that Barcelona had activated the release clause of Cardoso Barella. Well, now Barella's agents were spotted coming out of the Barcelona offices, where it's reported that Barcelona were finalizing the last details of the contract with the player, where Barcelona are going to pay 5 million euros to activate the release clause of Barella, who currently plays for Dinamo Zagreb. And it's reported that Barella will stay during this upcoming season, 2025-2026, at Dinamo Zagreb, so he can continue growing and developing. And then next summer of 2026, is when Barella will be joining the club. Why? Because, of course, as you know, Barca Athletic were relegated, so Barella can continue growing. They are keeping him in Dinamo Zagreb, and next summer he will be coming to Barcelona. Now, Barella is a 16-year-old left winger, someone who is considered as a very, very promising Portuguese gem. And Barcelona are very close to signing him. So we'll see how Barella continues to develop throughout this upcoming season, and we'll see what kind of conditions he will arrive in next summer to Barcelona. Now, speaking of wingers, we do have to talk about Marcus Rashford. Rashford, who Barcelona are considering signing, but only on loan with an option to buy. And someone who is dying to come to Barcelona. Rashford insisted on coming to Barcelona during the winter transfer market, but when Barcelona could not free up any financial fair play, he ended up going to Aston Villa for half a season on loan. And now that he's back at Man U, he's once again insisting on going to Barcelona. So much so that it's reported that Rashford is currently rejecting any offer that comes his way. His agents have a clear instruction. Anybody who picks up the phone and calls you, you tell them, no, we only want to go to Barcelona. And it's also reported that Rashford will wait until the final days of the summer transfer market to see if Barcelona are going to sign him. That's how much Rashford is willing to come to Barcelona. He's rejecting everybody. And of course, he's also informed Barcelona through his agent that he's even willing to reduce his salary. So for now, Rashford is on, he's waiting. He's in waiting mode. And until Barcelona pick up the phone and say, hey, Rashford, we want you, Rashford will continue to wait until the final days of the summer transfer market. Now, as you know, Barcelona are only willing to sign Rashford on loan, something that Man U were not willing to do. But now it's reported that Man U are open to loaning Rashford. So this possibility is, of course, now more real. But as you know, the number one option for Deco is Luis Diaz. Now, on to the last bit of news, because, ladies and gentlemen, the Polish national team's coach, Michał Probierz, I think that's how you say it, he has announced his resignation from the Polish national team after the whole drama that ensued between him and Lewandowski. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, the Polish national team announced that they were going to strip Lewandowski from his captaincy because after a very tiring season with Barcelona, Lewandowski decided to not go to these last international matches. And that's why the Polish national team stripped him from his captaincy. Now, Lewandowski spoke out during an interview, and he revealed two things. First, that he had already spoken to the coach of the Polish national team about his rest, and they had both agreed that Lewandowski would take these 2 matches off and he would rest. And the second thing was he also revealed that when his captaincy was stripped, the coach of the national team called him at night while he was putting his kids to sleep and spoke to him for like less than a minute and was like, hey, we're taking away your captaincy, and then hung up. And of course, Lewandowski did not like that because he had already spoken to the coach and agreed that he wasn't going to participate in these upcoming or these matches that just happened. And 2, the way it happened, right? Lewandowski has been a captain for 11 years, and then you strip him of his captaincy like that after something you agreed to, and over the phone for like 30 seconds and you hang up. So Lewandowski announced through social media that he was going to be quitting the Polish national team for as long as the current coach was there. Now, as a result of this scuffle, the coach of the national team has decided to resign, which of course highlights the kind of power that players like Lewandowski have. And of course also reminds us something very important, which is that you need to respect your legends, something I've talked about before in the channel. You know, it's if you had already an agreement with him and you go around, you know, you turn your back to that agreement, and then the way you do it, you know, you call the phone and you call him up and you're like, oh, we're stripping the captaincy, 30 seconds, and you hang up. That's not the way to do it. It's kind of like when Koeman asked Luis Suarez to leave, right? We all agreed that Luis Suarez's time at Barcelona was up. He was getting older, slower. He wasn't helping with the pressure or with defending. But you don't do it that way, right? You don't do it the way Koeman did, where he picked up the phone and the conversation lasted less than 30 seconds. Hey, we don't count on you. Bye. That's not how you treat your legends. So this is, of course, another lesson in why you should respect your legends. And people say, well, you know, it's a business. You're not expected to. Sure, yeah. Legally speaking, you're not required to respect your players. But respecting is not about what's required legally. It's about, you know, having good etiquette, having manners, having courtesy, right? You're technically not required to say please and thank you. But it's always nice that if you do. Anyways, that is all the news for this video. We'll be uploading another video shortly, so stay tuned to the channel. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment. And as always, Barça.